You. Yes, you. The tall one in the black suit. Did you not learn manners from your mother? The words cut through the market noise like a blade through silk. Conversation stopped. A fish seller's knife hung frozen midair. The ceiling fan seemed to slow, waiting. In the center of the aisle stood a little girl. She was 9, maybe 10, small. One hand on her hip, the other pointing straight at a man 3 times her size. Her blue school uniform was wrinkled. Her braids were neat, but her socks didn't match. One pink, one yellow. Her glasses sat crooked on her nose like they had given up trying to stay straight. But her eyes did not blink. You, she repeated louder this time, the one pretending he can't hear me. The man stopped walking. When he turned, the air changed. The fruit sellers straightened. But the men in blue work uniforms behind him went still. Everyone felt it. Something heavy, something dangerous. The girl did not care. "You stepped on my grandmother's oranges," she said. She arranged them by size, small to big. It took her 30 minutes. She held up 3 fingers. 30. She pointed at the mess behind her. Oranges rolled everywhere. Some were crushed. The wooden display was tilted sideways. And you just kept walking like it was nothing. The crowd held its breath. A woman covered her mouth. A man slowly backed away, already planning to say he saw nothing. The man in the black suit looked down at the girl. His face showed nothing. "Do you know who you're talking to?" His voice was quiet, soft even. That made it worse. The girl blinked. "No," she said. Then she tilted her head. "Should I?" A pause. "But I feel like you want me to be scared," she added. "But I didn't do anything wrong." Something flickered across his face, small, almost invisible, gone. "You disrupted my grandmother's work," she continued, pointing at the elderly woman frozen behind the stall. "She wakes up before the sun. Her knees hurt when it's cold, but she still comes here. She still carries everything herself." Her voice softened, but it didn't shake. "So when someone destroys that and keeps walking, it tells me something about that person." She paused. "And none of it is good." Silence. The heavy kind. The kind that makes people remember how to breathe. Behind the man, one of his workers stepped forward. His mouth opened. The man raised one finger. The worker stopped like he'd hit a wall. The girl noticed. "Is that your worker?" she asked. "No, he works for me." "Then you should teach him better." She looked at the worker, then back at the boss. "Right now, he's learning from the wrong example." Someone in the crowd made a sound. A laugh, quickly swallowed. The man's eyes sharpened, but there was something else there now. Not anger, interest. "I need you to apologize," the girl said. "Not to me, to her." She pointed at her grandmother. "A proper apology, loud enough for her to hear, not one of those small ones people use when they don't mean it." She waited. She did not move. She did not look away, and for the first time in years, the man hesitated. Then he spoke. "Do it." His worker stepped forward immediately. He bowed deep toward the elderly woman. "I apologize," he said, voice clear and firm. The girl watched, judging. 4 seconds passed. She nodded once. Good." She turned back to the man in the black suit. "You could have done that yourself," she said quietly. "You were right there." The words landed differently. Not angry, just true. Something shifted behind his eyes. Something old, something buried. "Next time," she added, pushing up her glasses, "you should act faster." Then she turned away. "Grandma, I fixed it," she called out, her voice bright now. "Can we get sweet rice later? I handled something important." The market exhaled, but the man in the black suit did not move. He stood there, watching her walk away. Not with anger, not with coldness, with something else, something he hadn't felt in a very long time. 10 minutes later, the black cars rolled away. Inside the last one, the man sat in silence. His driver kept his eyes on the road. After a long moment, the man spoke. "Oh, the girl," he said. "Find out who she is." And just like that, the most dangerous man in the city was stopped cold by a 9-year-old with mismatched socks. If you believe Sade is the bravest person you've met today, make sure to hit that like button right now. It helps this story find more people who need a smile. And before you scroll away, subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss Chapter 2. We're just getting started, and trust me, you do not want to miss what Mr. No Manners finds in that file. Now let's get back to the story. His name was Kang Dejin, and he never looked back. That was the rule, the reason he had survived 30 years in a world that ate men alive. You make a decision. You move forward. You do not wonder. You do not regret. You do not return. Yet here he was, sitting in the back of his black sedan, watching the market shrink in the side mirror. The image of that little girl burned behind his eyes. Her mismatched socks, her crooked glasses, her steady, unblinking stare. You could have done that yourself. He exhaled slowly. Across from him, his right-hand man, Min Seok, sat perfectly still. He knew better than to speak first. "The girl," Dejin said again. "I want everything, her name, her family, where she lives, what she eats for breakfast." Min Seok nodded once. "Understood." The car fell silent again. 3 miles away, in a small apartment above the market, Said Cole kicked off her mismatched socks and flopped onto her bed. Her grandmother's voice drifted through the thin wall, humming, soft and old and full of something Sade couldn't name. She stared at the ceiling, the man in the black suit. Something about him bothered her. Not the scary part. She had seen scary before. The landlord who yelled too loud, the older boys who stole from the fruit stall, the woman with the sharp nails who called her grandmother that old foreigner. No, this was different. He had looked at her like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve. Saad frowned. Then she shrugged. If he wanted answers, he could ask properly next time. She pulled her notebook from her backpack and began to write. Tuesday. Man in black suit stepped on grandma's oranges, fixed it. He has sad eyes, doesn't know how to say sorry, might need help with that. She closed the notebook and turned off the light. The next morning, the market woke up as it always did. Fish sellers arranged their ice. Spice vendors opened their jars. The smell of frying dough and sweet tea filled the air. Grandmother Cole set out her new oranges. Small to big, just like always, but something was different. Zadeh noticed immediately. A man in a blue shirt, standing near the fabric stall, pretending to browse. But his eyes kept drifting toward their fruit display. Another one by the entrance, drinking tea too slowly. They're watching us, Sadeh thought. She said nothing. She helped her grandmother arrange mangoes. She wiped down the wooden stand. She smiled at customers and counted change. And she watched the watchers. 2 hours later, she walked directly up to the man in the blue shirt. "Excuse me," she said. He stiffened. "You've been standing here since morning. You haven't bought anything. Your shoes are too clean for someone who shops at this market. And you keep looking at my grandmother like she owes you money." The man's mouth opened, closed. Saad tilted her head. "Tell Mr. Blacksuit that if he wants to know something about us, he should come ask himself. You're not very good at hiding." She smiled, sweet and sharp. "Also, the tea here is terrible. You should try the stall by the gate. Much better." She walked away. The man stood frozen. His phone was already in his hand. Across the city, in a private room with no windows, Kang Dejin listened to the report. Her name was Sade Cole, 9 years old. Lived with her grandmother above the market. No father in the picture. Mother passed away 3 years ago. Excellent grades. Sharp tongue. No fear. And then Min Seok added the last part. "She approached our man today. Told him to deliver a message to you directly. Dae-jin raised an eyebrow. What message? Min-seok hesitated. She said if you want to know something about them, you should come ask yourself, and that our men are not very good at hiding. A long silence. Then something happened that made Min-seok's blood run cold. Kang Dae-jin laughed. Not loud, not long, just a short, surprised sound like a crack in stone. Interesting, Dae-jin said. He stood up. Bring the car around. Min-seok blinked. Where are we going? Dae-jin was already walking toward the door. To the market. I have questions. Sade was counting oranges when the black car pulled up again. The market went quiet. She looked up, pushed her glasses higher on her nose. The door opened, and there he was, Mr. Black Suit, Mr. No Manners, standing in front of her grandmother's stall like he belonged there. Sade smiled. You came back. Dae-jin looked down at her. You told me to. She nodded approvingly. Good. You're learning. You're learning. The words hung in the air. No one spoke to Kang Dae-jin like that. No one. His own men barely breathed in his presence. Rival bosses chose their words like they were handling broken glass. Yet this child, this small girl with crooked glasses and a stained school uniform, spoke to him like he was a student who needed correction. And somehow, he didn't mind. Sade gestured toward a wooden stool beside her grandmother's stall. Sit. Dae-jin stared at the stool. It was small, low to the ground, made for a child or an old woman, not a man of his size. I'll stand, he said. You'll block the sun, she replied. And my grandmother's flowers need light. Sit. Min-seok, standing 3 feet behind, felt his soul leave his body. Dae-jin sat. The stool creaked under his weight, his knees rose almost to his chest, and he looked ridiculous. A powerful man folded onto a tiny seat like a giant visiting a dollhouse. Sade nodded once. Better. She returned to arranging mangoes, small to big, just like the oranges. For a long moment neither spoke. The market slowly resumed its rhythm around them. Vendors called out prices, customers haggled. Life continued. But everyone stole glances at the strange sight. The feared man in black, sitting on a child's stool, waiting. You're watching us, Sade said without looking up. Yes. Why? Dae-jin considered the question. He could lie, he could deflect, he could leave. I don't know, he said honestly. Sade paused. She turned to look at him, really look, the way she had done 3 days ago when she demanded an apology. You don't know why you're watching a fruit stall? No. She studied his face, his eyes, at the lines around his mouth that came from years of never smiling. You're lonely, she said. It wasn't a question. Dae-jin said nothing. My grandmother says lonely people do strange things, Sade continued. They watch others because they forgot how to join in. They stand at the edge of things. They wear black suits even when it's hot. She gestured at his outfit. It's very hot today. Min-seok made a sound behind them, something between a cough and a prayer. Dae-jin looked down at his suit. Italian wool, custom made, completely wrong for this weather, for this place, for this moment. You're very direct, he said. You're very slow, she replied. I told you that already. Despite everything, the corner of his mouth twitched. Your grandmother, he said, changing course. She raised you alone? Sade's hands stopped moving. My mother died, she said simply. 3 years ago. Fever. The hospital was too far. By the time we got there, she was already gone. No tears, no trembling lip, just facts, arranged neatly, small to big. I'm sorry, Dae-jin said. Sade looked at him sharply, evaluating. That was a good apology, she said. You meant it. She turned back to her mangoes. Grandma took me in after that. She didn't have to. She already had enough to carry, but she did it anyway. She paused. That's what family does, I think. They carry things together. Daejin felt something shift in his chest. Something old. Something he had buried so deep he forgot it existed. Do you have family? Sade asked. No. That's sad. I manage. Managing isn't the same as living, she said. My teacher taught us that. Managing is surviving. Living is having people who would sit on tiny stools for you. She looked at him again. You sat on the stool. He had no response to that. Sade picked up a mango, round and golden, perfectly ripe. She held it out to him. Here, you look like you haven't eaten fruit in years. Daejin took it. The skin was warm from the sun. Come back tomorrow, Sade said. Same time. I'll teach you how to arrange oranges properly. It's a useful skill, even for people in black suits. She pushed her glasses up. And wear something cooler. You're making me sweat just looking at you. That night, in his empty apartment with its cold walls and expensive silence, Kang Daejin placed the mango on his kitchen counter. He stared at it for a long time. Then he called Min Seok. Cancel tomorrow's meetings. Sir? All of them. A pause. Oh, and find me something cooler to wear. He came back the next day, and the next, and the next. By the fifth day, the market had stopped freezing when the black car pulled up. People still stared. They still whispered. But the fear had softened into something else. Confusion. Curiosity. The kind of wonder that comes from watching a wolf sit peacefully beside a lamb. Sade had given him a nickname. Mr. No Manners, she announced on day 3, handing him a small knife. Since you're learning, you need a proper name. Daejin took the knife. I have a name. I know, but that one is for other people. This one is mine. He didn't argue. She taught him to peel mangoes without wasting the fruit. She showed him how to stack oranges so they wouldn't roll. And she explained the difference between a customer who wanted to buy and one who just wanted to touch everything. You watch their hands, she said. People who want to buy look with their eyes first. People who want to steal look with their hands first. Daejin filed this away. It was surprisingly useful information. You're good at this, Sade observed on day 6. Observing, noticing things. It's my job. What is your job exactly? He paused. The knife hovered over a mango. I solve problems, he said carefully. What kind? Difficult ones. Sade nodded thoughtfully. That makes sense. You have the face for it. What kind of face is that? The kind that doesn't smile easily. People with that face usually carry heavy things. Daejin looked at her. This child, this strange, wonderful child who saw through everything. Why aren't you afraid of me? He asked. Sade shrugged. Should I be? Most people are. Most people don't pay attention. She wiped her hands on her uniform. I watched you that first day, when your worker apologized for you. Your eyes were sad, not angry. Angry people want to hurt others. Sad people just want someone to see them. She picked up another mango. I see you. Something cracked inside Kang Daejin, small, quiet, but real. Grandmother Cole watched from behind the stall. Her name was Esther. She was 67 years old. Her hands were rough from decades of work. Her back ached constantly, but her eyes were still sharp, and they had been watching this man in the black suit very carefully. She didn't trust easily. Life had taught her that trust was expensive, and she had paid too much for it already. But she saw how Saad spoke to him, how he listened, how he sat on that tiny stool every day without complaint, how his shoulders slowly relaxed as the hours passed. On day 8, she placed a cup of tea beside him without a word. He looked up, surprised. Drink, she said. You look tired. It was the first time she had spoken to him directly. He drank. The tea was hot and sweet and tasted like something he had lost a long time ago. Thank you, he said. Esther nodded once, then walked away. It was not forgiveness, not yet, but it was a door, left slightly open. That evening, as the market closed and the sun painted everything orange, Sade sat beside Dejin on the small stool. You're different now, she said. Different how? Less sharp. When you first came, you felt like broken glass. So now you feel more like... She searched for the word. Wood, still strong, but warmer. Dejin looked at his hands. When had they stopped clenching? You're a strange child, he said. I know. She smiled. That's why you keep coming back. She was right. He couldn't explain it, couldn't justify it to his men who watched their feared boss peel fruit and stack oranges like a market boy. Couldn't explain it to himself lying awake at night in his empty apartment, counting the hours until morning. All he knew was this: for the first time in 30 years, Kang Dae-jin had something to look forward to. You'll come tomorrow? Sade asked, already knowing the answer. Yes. Good. She stood up and brushed off her uniform. Tomorrow I'll teach you about pineapples. They're harder, but you're ready. She walked toward her grandmother, then stopped. Mr. No Manners? Yes? She turned back. The setting sun caught her glasses, turning them gold. You smiled today, twice. I counted. She grinned. You're getting better. The photograph was old. Saad found it on a rainy Tuesday when the market closed early. She was looking for extra blankets in her grandmother's closet when her fingers touched something hard, a small wooden box, tucked behind winter coats and old shoes, hidden like a secret. She opened it. Inside lay a photograph, faded, creased at the edges. The colors had softened into shades of brown and gold. A man, Korean, young, handsome in a quiet way. A woman, African, beautiful, smiling like she held the sun in her mouth. Between them a baby, Sayed stared. The woman looked like her mother, the man looked like... She closed the box quickly. But her heart was beating too fast. The rain tapped against the window like fingers asking to come in. She put the box back exactly where she found it. But she didn't forget. Across the city, Kang Dae-jin sat alone in his office. The lights were dim. A single lamp cast long shadows across his desk. In his hands, a file. Said Cole, age 9. Mother deceased. Father unknown. Grandmother, Esther Cole, originally from... He stopped reading. The name. He read it again. Then again. His hands trembled. Kang Dae-jin's hands did not tremble. They had held weapons, signed death warrants, ended lives. They had never once shaken. Until now. He closed the file, opened it, closed it again. The name stared back at him like a ghost he had buried 30 years ago. His sister, the sister he had lost. But the sister his family had erased from their history because she had loved someone they refused to accept. A foreigner, an African man. The disgrace, they called it, the shame. They had cut her out of photographs, burned her letters, forbidden her name from being spoken. And Dae-jin, young and desperate for approval, had said nothing. He had let her disappear. Now she was gone, truly gone. Dead 3 years ago from a fever that could have been treated if someone had cared enough to help. But she had left something behind, a daughter, his niece, Sade. Dae-jin pressed his palms against his eyes until he saw the girl who demanded apologies, who taught him to peel mangoes, who saw through every wall he had ever built, his blood, his family, the family he had failed. The next morning, Sade waited by the fruit stall, and the black car arrived at the usual time. But something was different. The door opened slowly. Dae-jin stepped out. He was wearing a simple white shirt, no jacket, no tie. His face looked older somehow, heavier. "You're late," Sade said, but her voice was softer than usual. "I had a difficult night." She studied him, the way she always did, seeing things others missed. "Your eyes are red," she said. "Did something happen?" Dejin looked at her. This small, fierce, brilliant child, her mother's daughter, his sister's legacy. "May I sit?" he asked. She nodded. "You don't have to ask anymore." He sat on the tiny stool. The wood creaked. Familiar now, like an old friend. "Sade," he said. His voice was rough. "I need to tell you something." She waited. "I knew your mother." The world went very quiet. Saad's hands stopped moving. Her whole body went still. Not with fear, with focus. The kind of stillness that comes before understanding something enormous. "How?" she asked. "She was my sister." 3 words, simple, devastating. Said looked at him for a long, long time. The market noise faded, the colors blurred, there was only his face. The man in the black suit, Mr. No Manners. The lonely stranger who sat on a tiny stool and learned to peel fruit. Her uncle. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the photograph, the one from the wooden box. She had taken it that morning, unable to leave it behind. "Is this you?" She pointed at the baby. Dejin's breath caught. "No," he whispered. "That's your mother. I was already older, already gone, already failing her." Sade looked at the photograph, then at him. "You didn't know about me," she said. "Oh no. And you couldn't save her?" "No." She nodded slowly, processing, arranging facts, small to big. Then she did something unexpected. She handed him a mango. "You look like you need this more than I do today." Dejin took it. His hands were shaking. "Grandma needs to know," Sade said. "But not yet. She carries enough heavy things. We'll tell her when she's ready." She pushed her glasses up. "And you're not failing anymore. You're here now. That counts for something." For the second time in 30 years, Kang Dejin felt tears in his eyes. He didn't wipe them away. Esther Cole knew something had shifted. She felt it in the way the man in the black suit looked at Sade now. Different, softer, like he was seeing her for the first time, and in the way Sade watched him back, not with curiosity anymore, with recognition. And she had seen that look before, on her daughter's face 30 years ago, when she spoke of a family that had rejected her, a brother who never came for her. Esther's hands tightened around her broom. No, it couldn't be. That evening, Sade sat cross-legged on her bed, the photograph between her and Dejin. They had moved inside. The market was closed. The apartment was small but warm. The smell of grandmother's cooking drifted through the walls. "Tell me about her," Sade said. "My mother, when she was young." Dejin stared at the photograph. The sister he remembered was 7 years old. Small hands, loud laugh, always following him around their family home in Busan. "She was annoying," he said quietly. Sade raised an eyebrow. "In the best way. She followed me everywhere, asked too many questions. Stole my books and drew pictures in the margins." His voice cracked slightly. "She drew suns, hundreds of them, on everything." Sade smiled. "I draw suns too." Dejin looked at her. "I know. I saw your notebook. You went through my things. You left it open. That's not permission." A pause. Then impossibly, Dejin's mouth twitched upward. "You sound like her, exactly like her." Sade pulled her knees to her chest. "What happened? Why did she leave?" The question hung in the air, heavy, old. Dejin closed his eyes. "Our father was a hard man, old-fashioned. He believed in tradition above everything. When your mother fell in love with your father, An African man, a foreigner. Our father saw it as betrayal. He opened his eyes. They were distant. He gave her a choice, leave the man or leave the family. And she chose love, Sade said. Yes. And you? The word cut deeper than any blade. I said nothing. Dejin's voice was barely a whisper. I was 15, scared, desperate for our father's approval. I watched her pack her bags, I watched her walk out the door, and I said nothing. Silence. Then Saad reached out and placed her small hand on his. You were a child too, she said. I was old enough to know better. Maybe. She squeezed his hand. But you're here now. That's what matters. The door creaked open. Esther stood in the doorway. Her face was stone. Her eyes were wet. How long have you been standing there? Sade asked. Long enough. Esther's voice was steady but thin, like glass about to crack. She looked at Dejin. Really looked. The way she had avoided doing for weeks. You have her eyes, she said finally. My daughter. You have her eyes. Dejin stood slowly. His tall frame seemed smaller somehow, reduced by shame. I failed her, he said. Yes. Esther's voice was hard. You did. She walked to the small kitchen table and sat down heavily. Her hands folded in front of her. Old hands, working hands, hands that had buried a daughter and raised a granddaughter alone. But you're here now, she continued, and my Sade seems to trust you. That means something. She looked up at him. Don't make me regret this. Dejin bowed, low, deeper than he had bowed to anyone in his life. I won't, he said. Esther nodded once. Then she reached for the teapot. Sit down, both of you. It's time we talked properly. They talked until the moon was high. Esther told stories Sade had never heard, about her mother's courage, her laughter, her stubbornness, how she had built a life from nothing in a country that didn't want her, how she had loved Sade's father until the day he died, how she had never stopped hoping her brother would find her. Dejin listened. Every word, every memory. When Esther finally grew tired and retired to her room, Sade walked Dejin to the door. You have a family now, she said. A real one, not just people who work for you. He looked down at her. This child who had demanded an apology and changed his entire world. I don't know how to be family, he admitted. Sade smiled. That's okay. I'll teach you. She pushed her glasses up. I'm very good at teaching. You've seen my work. For the first time in 30 years, Kang Dejin laughed. Really laughed. It sounded rusty, unpracticed, like a door opening after decades of being sealed shut. But it was real. The photograph sat on the kitchen table like a bomb waiting to explode. 3 days had passed since the truth came out. 3 days of careful conversations, of Esther watching Dejin with wary eyes, of Sade moving between them like a small bridge, connecting two shores that had been separated for 30 years. But the photograph changed everything. Dejin had brought it, a different one, older. A family portrait taken in Busan when he was 10 and his sister was 3. Their parents stood stiffly behind them. Their mother's face was blank. Their father's jaw was tight with something that looked like anger, but was really just disappointment wearing a different mask. And there in the corner, a small girl with bright eyes and a smile that refused to be contained. Sade's mother. Esther picked up the photograph with trembling hands. I never saw her this young, she whispered. She came to me already grown, already carrying the weight of losing everything. She looked at Dejin. Why did you come here? To this market? To my stall? It was the question he had been avoiding. Coincidence, he said. At first, My business brought me to this area. I was walking through the market. I wasn't paying attention. I stepped on your oranges. And Sade yelled at you. Yes. Esther almost smiled. Almost. She gets that from her mother, that fire, that refusal to bow. Dejin nodded slowly. I see her now, in everything Sade does. The way she tilts her head when she's thinking, the way she arranges things, the way she sees through people. He paused. The way she forgives. The words hung in the air. Esther set the photograph down gently, like it was made of butterfly wings. Forgiveness is not simple, she said. Not for me. I watched my daughter cry for a family that threw her away. I held her hand when she was dying and she still whispered your name, your mother's name, your father's name. She never stopped loving you. Dejin's jaw tightened. And you, Esther continued, her voice hardening. You were living your life, building your empire, becoming someone important. While she sold fruit in a market to survive. Yes. While she raised a child alone. Yes. While she died in a clinic that had no medicine because we couldn't afford better. Dejin closed his eyes. Yes. The word was barely a breath. Silence filled the small kitchen. Heavy, suffocating. Then Sade spoke. Grandma. Both adults turned. Sade stood in the doorway. Her school uniform was wrinkled as always. Her socks didn't match. One blue, one green. Her glasses sat crooked on her nose, but her eyes were steady. Mom wouldn't want this, she said quietly. Sade. She wouldn't. Sade walked to the table and climbed onto a chair. Mom used to tell me stories about her brother, about how he protected her when they were small, about how he taught her to read, about how he gave her his food when she was hungry. She looked at Dejin. She said he was the best part of her childhood. Dejin's breath caught. She never blamed you, Sade continued. She blamed your father. She blamed the rules that made loving someone wrong. But she never blamed you. She reached across the table and took his hand. So stop blaming yourself. It's boring, and it doesn't help anyone. Esther made a sound, something between a laugh and a sob. She sounds just like her mother, Dejin said. I know, Esther replied. For a long moment no one moved. Then Esther stood up, slowly, her old knees cracking. She walked around the table and stood in front of Dejin. She was small, much smaller than him, but in that moment she seemed enormous. You will not disappear again, she said. You will come to this house. You will eat my food. You will be present. Do you understand? Dejin looked up at her. Yes. Good. Esther turned back to the stove. Now, who wants more tea? That night, Dejin sat in his car outside the market long after everyone had gone to sleep. Min Seok waited in the driver's seat, silent, patient. Min Seok. Yes, sir. Cancel everything for next week. All of it. Sir? Dejin looked at the small apartment above the market. A light still burned in one window, Sade's window. I have family now, he said. And I need to learn how to be part of it. He paused, and find out what a 9-year-old girl wants for her birthday. I have 30 years of gifts to catch up on. The market changed, not overnight, not dramatically, but steadily, like water wearing down stone. People noticed. The black car still came every day. But now the man in the black suit didn't just sit at the fruit stall. He helped. He carried boxes. He counted change. He learned to call out prices in the local dialect, his accent terrible but his effort genuine. The vendors stopped whispering fearfully. They started nodding respectfully. Some even smiled. Said watched it all. She sat on her usual stool, legs swinging, observing the transformation like a scientist studying a very interesting experiment. You're different now, she announced one afternoon. But Dejin was stacking oranges, small to big, perfectly aligned. He had practiced for weeks. Different how? Softer. When you first came, you walked like the ground owed you something. Now you walk like you're glad to be here. He considered this. I am glad to be here. I know, she grinned. That's the difference. Esther emerged from behind the stall with 2 cups of tea. She handed one to Dejin without hesitation now, without the careful distance she had maintained for so long. You're staying for dinner, she said. It wasn't a question. I have a meeting. Cancel it. Dejin looked at her, then at Sade, who was making exaggerated begging faces. He pulled out his phone. Min Seok, cancel tonight's meeting. Sade pumped her fist. Yes! Grandma's making her special stew. You'll love it. It's the best thing in the world. Oh, better than whatever fancy food you eat in your fancy restaurants. Dejin slipped his phone back into his pocket. I don't eat in fancy restaurants. What do you eat? He paused. Mostly alone. The words came out before he could stop them. Honest. Bare. The kind of truth he had never told anyone. Saad's smile softened. Not anymore, she said. Now you eat with us. That evening, the small apartment above the market was fuller than it had been in years. Esther's stew filled the room with warmth. The radio played old songs. Sade talked endlessly about school, about her teacher, about a boy who pulled her braid and how she had handled it without violence but with a very stern conversation. Dejin listened to every word. He ate 2 bowls of stew. He laughed when Sade imitated her teacher's walk. He helped dry the dishes after. But when it was time to leave, he stood at the door and felt something he hadn't felt in 30 years. He didn't want to go. Sade, he said. She looked up from her notebook. I need to tell you something. Okay. He knelt down, this tall, powerful man, on one knee, eye level with a 9-year-old girl. I don't know how to be an uncle. I don't know how to be family. I've spent my whole life alone, pushing people away, building walls. Sade nodded. I know. But I want to learn. I want to be here for you, for your grandmother, for... He struggled with the words. For my sister. Sade reached out and straightened his collar. A small gesture. Motherly, strange from a child. Mr. No Manners, she said softly. You're already doing it. Being family isn't about knowing how. It's about showing up, every day, even when it's hard. She smiled. Oh, you show up. Dejin felt his throat tighten. So, Sade continued, since you're my uncle now, I have rules. Rules? Rule 1. You come to dinner every Sunday. No excuses. Agreed. Rule 2. You learn to cook at least 1 dish. Grandma shouldn't do everything. Agreed. Rule 3. She leaned closer. You stop calling yourself Mr. Important Businessman in your head. Your real name is better. He blinked. How did you know I call myself that? Sade tapped her temple. I pay attention. He laughed. The sound came easier now. Familiar, like it had always been there, waiting. Anything else? Sade pretended to think. Yes, Rule 4. You teach me Korean. I want to know where my mother came from. The words, the sounds, everything. Dejin nodded slowly. I can do that. Good. She held out her hand. Deal? He took it, and her small hand in his large one. Deal. Later that night, Sade wrote in her notebook. Thursday. Mr. No Manners is officially my uncle. He still has sad eyes sometimes, but less than before. I think I'm fixing him, slowly like arranging oranges, small to big. She closed the notebook and looked out the window. The black car was still parked below. She smiled. You can go home now, Uncle, she whispered. We'll still be here tomorrow. As if he heard her, the car's engine started. and drove away, but slower than usual. Like it too was learning not to rush. 6 months later, the market celebrated its annual harvest festival. Lanterns hung between stalls, music filled the air, children ran between legs while elders sat in circles telling stories that had been told for generations. And the smell of roasting meat and sweet rice drifted through every corner. At the center of it all was the fruit stall. But it wasn't just a fruit stall anymore. Esther had expanded. 2 new tables, a colorful sign painted by Sadie herself, fresh flowers every morning, supplied by a vendor 2 streets over who now called Esther Auntie and brought her tea without being asked. The stall had become something else, a gathering place, a landmark. People came not just for the fruit but for the feeling, the warmth that seemed to radiate from the old woman and her strange, wonderful family. Kang Dejin stood behind the stall arranging pomegranates. He wore a simple linen shirt, beige, breathable. His sleeves were rolled to his elbows. His skin had darkened slightly from months of market sun. He looked different, younger, lighter, but the permanent tension in his jaw had softened. The coldness in his eyes had thawed into something quieter, something peaceful. Minseok stood nearby, holding a basket of mangoes. He too had changed. He smiled now, occasionally, when Sade made fun of their boss, which was often. "Uncle!" Sade appeared through the crowd like a small hurricane. Her school uniform was somehow more wrinkled than usual. Her socks were both purple today, a new choice. Her glasses sat perfectly straight for once, which meant she had probably cleaned them recently. Behind her walked Esther, moving slowly but steadily, her arm linked with one of the older market women. They were laughing about something. Esther's laugh was different now, fuller, like she had finally allowed herself to be happy. "You have to come see." Sade grabbed Dejin's hand. "Oh, the dancing is starting. Grandma said you used to dance when you were young. Is that true?" Dejin shot a look at Esther. Esther shrugged innocently. "I only told her the truth. I was 12. And very good, according to your sister." Sade's eyes lit up. "Mom said you were good?" Dejin paused. The mention of his sister no longer cut like before. It ached, yes, it always would, but the ache had become something bearable, a reminder of love rather than loss. "She said I was terrible," he admitted, but enthusiastic. "Even better!" Sade pulled harder. "Come on, everyone is waiting." The dancing circle had formed near the old fountain. Drums beat a steady rhythm. Voices rose in song. People clapped and swayed, young and old, together. It was the kind of scene Dejin would have walked past without looking 6 months ago. Background noise, and unimportant. Now he stood at the edge, watching. Sade grabbed both his hands. "You're dancing with me. I don't—" "Rule 5. She held up 5 fingers. "You dance at festivals. I just made it up. It's a rule now." He looked at Esther for help. She shook her head. "Don't look at me. I don't argue with her. I learned that lesson years ago." Dejin sighed. Then he stepped into the circle. He was terrible. His rhythm was wrong. His movements were stiff. He nearly tripped over his own feet twice. But Sade laughed and pulled him along, and soon he stopped caring. He let the drums guide him. He let his niece spin him around like he weighed nothing. The crowd cheered. Children joined in. Then adults. Minseok was pushed into the circle by one of the vendors. Even Esther allowed herself to be led in, moving slowly but gracefully, her old hips remembering dances from decades past. For a long golden moment there was no past, no pain, no lost years. There was only now. Later, when the music softened and the lanterns glowed against the darkening sky, Dejin found himself sitting beside Esther on a wooden bench. Sade was nearby, teaching Minseok how to peel sugarcane properly. His technique was terrible. She was very patient about it. You've changed, Esther said. It was the first time she had said it directly. Dejin watched Sade demonstrate the correct angle for the knife. I had help. She has that effect. Esther folded her hands in her lap. Her mother was the same, saw the good in people before they saw it in themselves, refused to give up on anyone. Dejin was quiet. I should have come sooner, he said. Yes. I should have fought for her. Yes. I should have been her brother when she needed one. Esther turned to look at him. Her eyes were old, tired but kind. You're here now. That's what she would have wanted, not guilt, not regret, just presence. She reached over and patted his hand. You're a good uncle. Dejin swallowed hard. Thank you. Sade appeared in front of them, slightly out of breath. Grandma, Uncle, the sweet rice is ready. We have to get some before Mr. Okafor takes it all. He eats like he has 3 stomachs. Esther laughed and pushed herself up. Come then, both of you. They walked together through the lantern-lit market, Sade between them holding both their hands, Dejin on one side, Esther on the other. People greeted them as they passed, warm smiles, friendly nods. The fear was completely gone now, yet in its place was something that looked like respect, and something that felt like belonging. They reached the food stalls. Sade ordered for everyone very seriously, as if selecting sweet rice was an important diplomatic mission. When they sat down to eat, Dejin looked around the table. Esther, his sister's mother, a woman who had lost everything and somehow still had room in her heart to forgive Sade, his niece, a child who had demanded an apology and ended up rebuilding a family and himself. A man who had walked through life alone, never looking back until a small girl with mismatched socks and crooked glasses had stopped him in his tracks. Did you not learn manners from your mother? He smiled at the memory. Sade, he said. She looked up, rice on her chin. Yes. Uncle? I want to tell you something. Okay. He set down his spoon. 6 months ago, you asked me if I had learned manners from my mother. I didn't answer then. But I will now. Said waited. My mother taught me many things. How to bow properly, how to speak to elders, how to keep my face blank when I was hurting. But she never taught me how to apologize, how to admit when I was wrong, how to choose love over pride. He looked at her. You taught me that. Sade stared at him for a long moment. Then she grinned. I know. She pushed her glasses up. That's why I kept you. Esther laughed. Dejin laughed. Even Minsuk, standing respectfully nearby, allowed himself a small smile that night, after the festival ended and the lanterns were taken down. Sade sat on her bed writing in her notebook. Harvest Festival. Uncle danced. He was terrible. It was perfect. Grandma smiled more than I've ever seen. Minseok almost smiled too. I think he's learning. Mom would have loved tonight. I used to think family was just the people you were born with. But now I think family is the people who stay, who show up, who sit on tiny stools and learn to peel mangoes even when they're wearing expensive shoes. Mr. No Manners is my uncle now, and I think he's finally home. She closed the notebook and turned off her lamp. Through the thin wall, she could hear her grandmother humming softly, the same tune she always hummed, an old song from a country far away, and from the street below, very faintly, the sound of a car engine, not driving away, arriving. Sade smiled in the dark. Sometimes all it takes is one fearless voice to bring a broken family back together, and sometimes that voice belongs to a 9-year-old girl with mismatched socks and crooked glasses, who simply refused to look away. And that is the story of Sade Cole, the little girl who taught a mafia boss how to peel mangoes and how to be human again. If this story warmed your heart even a little bit, please take a second to share this video with someone who might need a reminder that family is what you build, not just what you're born into. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more original stories that prove courage doesn't care how tall you are. We post new chapters and new tales every week. Thank you for listening. Now go call someone you love, or eat a mango, preferably both. See you in the next story.